Let's go ahead and look at the Elfen lead one. This is post-editing Red Eye. I can't remember if there's a spoiler warning in this video, but spoiler warning, this has spoilers for Elfen lead, both the manga and the anime.
Warning. This episode of Anime Abandoned contains scenes of blood, excessive gore, violence against children, and suggestive themes.
Woo!
Viewer discretion is advised.
Viewer discretion is advised. I love Elfen lead, as you guys know. I like his intro. His intro has a lot of good anime in it. I can tell you that. I recognize a lot of these. Akira Tetsuo! I like the metal, too. Dude, Wicked City. I think that was Genocyber mixed in there. It was either Genocyber or Guyver. I think it was Guyver, actually. That's Slayers, right? I haven't seen that one. Which one's that? That's got to be a hentai, right? That's Evangelion, I know that, or Evangelion. That's Genocyber! That is also Genocyber.
Well, this is it. The 150th
This is it, Luigi!
episode of Anime Abandoned.
Dude, he's got the hipsteriest fucking hat in the world.
You know what? It's amazing to see how the show has grown and evolved over the years and countless hours of work to become what it is today.
Okay.
And I was pleased as punch to hear that...
Did you guys know that the phrase pleased as punch actually is a reference to spousal abuse? Because there was an old play called Punch and Judy. Like, it was a puppet show, and Punch would, like, get happy beating his wife. And so that's what the phrase pleased as punch means.
Games wanted to celebrate the occasion with me by flying me out to Philadelphia. They even threw me quite the surprise party.
Okay, I don't really watch Ben at this age, so a lot of this bit I'm not as interested in. So we might just spin on a little bit. And a bunch of the nostalgia. Is this guy part of Channel Awesome? Because that was a Jew Wario hat he had too, right? And that guy's controversial now, right? Because didn't he do some shady shit? Allegedly. I don't know.
How do you know when an anime has achieved cult status?
It has a big following, but it's not mainstream. Boom. Next question.
Especially when anime by itself is considered a cult interest.
It's fucking mainstream as shit now, dude. Unfortunately. Okay. Cute.
I took a lot of blows to the head.
That's not funny!
You should probably take in a couple more. Might have straightened you out a little bit.
How we define a cult film follows a few simple guidelines that depend on an amalgam of content and audience reaction. Most films that have achieved cult status usually revolve around obtuse subject matter, or, in a broader sense, rebellious subject matter. Characters thumb their noses at authority or the status quo by embracing that...
Again, there's not necessarily a common theme with cult movies. Cult movies just have a sizable but not mainstream audience. That's what a cult movie is.
...is considered perverse or taboo.
I mean, a lot of the times, yeah, but that's not necessarily a factor. Like, it can be, and it often is, but it doesn't mean it's like, you know, a set-in-stone thing.
Stories are written with little to no regard to established tropes to intentionally veer off traditional paths of storytelling.
I mean, a lot of the times, yes, but again, you're very much overgeneralizing.
And all creative decisions are often made for the sake of themselves, rather than what will prove to be profitable.
That is true typically, yeah, I'll give you that.
Because of this, cult films are often visually identified by their lack of budget. Not to say that there aren't high-budgeted cult films, but they became cult films in spite of their budget, not because of it. All of this informs the most important deciding factor over cult status.
Alright, it better just be that it's got a sizable but non-mainstream audience, because that's literally all a cult film is.
Audience reaction, which can run the gamut between sincere and ironic.
I mean, yeah, often, yeah.
Your typical audience might shy away from the non-traditional structure of a David Lynch film, or the general repulsiveness of John Waters' characters, or the poorly structured plot of Battlefield Earth.
Before you could even spell your name!
But there are certain audiences that embrace those films because of those perceived slights. Whether because they themselves have lived a life that isn't considered, for lack of a better term, normal, or they simply want to experience a film that's unlike anything they've seen before, they can find the fun or general feeling of entertainment from your El Topos, your Showgirls, your Buckaroo Banzais, your Rocky Horror Picture Shows. In the end, it's all about the personal attachment the audience can make with the film that they can't make with another that defines what truly makes a film cult.
Again, yeah, I mean, that's often a factor, but again, I do think cult film is a little bit more broad than that.
So with all of that said, how do you apply that to anime? Especially since the aesthetic that the mind's eye conjures when you hear the term cult film doesn't really figure into the anime aesthetic.
Sure, well, I mean, with anime, though, just think of 90s OVAs. A lot of the times those are have cult followings, so...
Well, you gotta further divide the subculture. As much as it seems like an oxymoron, there is such a thing as mainstream anime.
It's not an oxymoron. Anime is super fucking mainstream now.
No further than Dragon Ball, Attack on Titan, and Neon Genesis Evangelion for proof positive of this. So, then it becomes a question of audience and fan reaction versus mainstream recognition. For example, Cowboy Bebop has legions of dedicated fans and near universal critic appraisal, but its status as one of the most well-regarded anime outside the otaku culture robs it of a cult status.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And besides, quality of content has little...
Cowboy Bebop's pretty mainstream, but I've still heard nothing but good things, and I do intend to watch it at some point. I do own the whole series, just haven't watched it yet.
...to do with cult status.
And you can't piss on hospitality.
I won't allow it! What are you gonna do to me, Daddy?
Allow it!
But now I think we have the tools to build a spectrum to gauge whether or not an anime can be considered cult, and for what reason. On one side of the spectrum is Serial Experiments Lane.
I love Serial Experiments Lane. It is such a fucking mindfuck.
A beloved anime that was unfairly ignored by the anime-buying public, but was...
I don't know if it was unfairly ignored. It is very niche, because it is a fucking weird series that is really hard to follow. I love it, but it is bizarre.
...from disappearance by Funimation after enough demand from its fans. On the other side is Mad Bull 34.
Oh, I love Mad Bull 34! I've reviewed both of these on my channel! Mad Bull 34 is so fucking great!
Outrageously violent shit show that just had to be seen to be believed, and was rescued from disappearance by Discotek Media...
Yeah, Discotek kicks ass.
...probably on a dare. And in the middle, you have...
Discotek brings back old OVAs all the time.
...have Elfen Lied, the perfect nexus of human triumph and atrocity. You either love it, or you despise it.
I love Elfen Lied. Elfen Lied is fucking great.
In a phrase, it's the feels the anime. A 13-episode anime released in 2004, Elfen Lied is exhausting. Whether
Okay. How?
you love it or hate it, everyone has the same experience after they watch it. Like they were put through the ringer and left to dry in the cold.
No. No. I just think it was a good story with a lot of violence and interesting themes.
To say that Elfen Lied is emotionally draining is like saying Schindler's List is emotionally draining.
I mean, like, it's emotional, sure, but, like, I mean, it's fiction. I can handle it.
I'm not gonna lie to you people, this is gonna be a rough one to sit through, but...
Okay, pussy.
The 150th episodes don't come along every day, do they? This is Elfen Lied. The story follows Koda and his cousin Yuka, who happen upon a naked girl washed up on the beach.
I mean, you did leave out, you know, the beginning where Lucy escapes the facility, but okay.
Hey!
Koda, take your clothes off right now.
What?
Just take off your clothes.
Take off your clothes.
Look, Yuka, sex on the beach sounds like a good idea, but... Oh! You meant take off his coat so she could use it to cover herself. Why didn't you just say that? Oh, wait, I forgot. Because you want to bone him.
Well, yeah, she does. And they get together in the manga, spoiler.
Him, I remind you, being her cousin.
Which is actually normal in Japan.
It's that kind of anime. Following Pokemon logic...
It's actually normal in a lot of the world. Like, I still think it's weird. It's not good for the gene pool. But cousins in a lot of the world... And in fact, here it wasn't even frowned upon originally. It was actually really common here when the country was founded. So, again, I think it's weird too, but... It's not that it's viewed that way by the entire world. Not making a judgment call one way or the other on that one, but... It's true.
Two decide to name her New, since since that appears to be the only thing she can say. And the comparisons to wild animals continues, as not only does she have stubby horns, she's not even housebroken. Huh?
What's the matter?
You blurred out her pissing on the floor, coward.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
How is this clip from Tropic Thunder relevant? No, I get it now, because they're saying she's retarded, right? Because she's... Yeah, okay, fair enough.
This would all be...
It took me a second. I was confused. I thought they were saying Coda. But no, they meant you. I see, that was me going full retard, not getting the reference to the clip.
pretty uncomfortable if we didn't know that New is actually Lucy, a homicidal humanoid dubbed a Diclonius that has the ability and wherewithal to dismember people by the dozens via invisible hands called vectors.
Yeah, see, this opening scene to the series is so cool. Like, the first 9 minutes of the show are the most badass thing.
So instead of it being pretty uncomfortable, it's really uncomfortable.
I guess if you're not desensitized, like I am, maybe, but it's really not that uncomfortable.
Seems that Lucy was kept under lock and key and away from prying eyes, but was let out under mysterious circumstances.
Well, I don't know that she was let out. She escaped. What do you mean? She escaped! You see her escape! What are you on about?
However, during her escape, she catches a sniper's bullet to the head, but instead of killing her, it just makes her go full retard. Sometimes. Over the course of the show, she reverts back and forth from Lucy to New, like if Forrest Gump yo-yoed between himself and Leatherface. Now, this all hinges on one of the most tritely whimsical plot devices ever conceived. In fact, it's so trite that you all know what I'm talking about. The bonk on the head. Yes,
yeah, it's a pretty common trope, I'll give him that.
Tried and true writer's crutch for any and all plots. From mega blockbusters to hack comedy sketches, the bonk on the head comes in...
That's not always what triggers it, though, but it often is, so again, I'll give him that one.
Forms, but they all perform the same function, getting an established character to act against type. And so it is the same here in Elfen Lied, but the show tries to obfuscate the inherent hokey-like nature of it by doubling down on the violence that surrounds it. All of a sudden, the thought of a two-faced psychopath has some novelty to it. But this presents a problem. If your heroine is a murdering butcher half the time, how do you keep the audience from walking...
Well, I don't know that she's necessarily the heroine of the series. Like, Elfen Lied, I don't know that it has a hero, per se. Like, if it did, it'd maybe be Coda, I guess. Or Lucy's true identity, Kaide, which was before, like, Lucy fully became the thing. But that's not really... I mean, you see it in the episode. Her name, Kaide, isn't revealed in the anime. It's only revealed in the manga, but...
...captured and or put down. She can't just keep taking out nameless and faceless guards all the time, so what do? Make nearly everyone around her the most irredeemable...
Bondo is kick-ass!
...fucksticks in the history of fucksticks.
Dude, I love Bondo. Fuck you.
What the hell's the point of shooting at targets that don't scream or bleed?
It's getting old. I'm ready for real people.
I love Bondo. He's such a good character.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet irredeemable fuckstick number 1.
Mr. Bondo?
I love that scene. Never sneak up behind me, stupid bitch.
Never sneak up behind me, stupid bitch.
With a bullet. This here is Bondo. He likes to kill people. I'm sure he has other interests.
He has a really good relationship with Mayu, but it's seen more in the manga than the anime.
He's sent along with a platoon to recapture Lucy, but nearly dies in the process. This would be an excellent time for him to exit the story, seeing as how he served his villain of the day purpose, but he sticks around long after his usefulness.
He actually becomes a little bit more sympathetic in the manga, like I said, because he has more of a fatherly relationship towards Mayu, and you see a little bit of it in the anime, but it's only really shown once.
After his fight with Lucy, he's just not needed anymore, especially since it's this guy, Director Kakuzawa, who's the actual honest-to-God antagonist of the series. But the reason why Bondo sticks around is simply because the story doesn't have a lot of meat to it. The main focus of the show is Lucy/New's relationship with...
Well, again, I think you're overlooking a lot of things. There are, like... Elfen Lied has a lot of themes. That's the main thing it has going. Maybe some things aren't elaborated on the best, and I'll admit that. But I do think you are underselling it quite a bit.
Coda, and their history that Coda has internally repressed. which is yet another hack writing crutch and one that doesn't come out nearly as well as the bonk on the head, but we'll get more into that later. Your typical
Again, I think that the flashback scenes are actually really good, so I'm interesting to see what his criticisms are.
plot of Elfen Lied is as follows. Coda loses track of Mew, someone from the lab finds her, Mew turns into Lucy, a massacre happens, Coda then later finds her after she's turned back to Mew. Barely enough plot for a 6-episode OVA, let alone a 13-episode series. But
I think it does it just fine. The stakes get increasingly raised each time, too. I don't know what you're talking about.
what could they do since they were adapting from a manga that wasn't anywhere near done and wasn't hampered by a production budget or narrative restraints like an anime has?
I mean, yeah, the anime tells, like, the first half of the manga story. It doesn't tell the whole thing at all, but I think they did a pretty good job at adapting it, personally.
Making matters worse is that the manga has numerous side characters that have their own stories that are explored in the manga. And
What, you mean like that girl with the diaper? Because she was kind of dull.
the anime has to shoehorn these characters in as well. And in the case of Nozomi, leave them out entirely.
Again, she was just a chick in a diaper. That was like her entire character, so I'm okay with her being left out.
However, if you had to leave out a character, might as well be the one who was psychologically abused so much she has to wear a diaper because she keeps wetting herself.
Yeah.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but Elfen Lied is not for lacking side characters with histories of abuse.
Yeah, it does. It has a lot of characters with histories of abuse. He's right.
There's Mayu, another runaway that Koda and Yuka quasi-adopt into their household, who escaped a life where her stepdad sexually abused her, and no, I'm not gonna show it. But as soon as she's adopted by Koda and Yuka, she's immediately better, and all signs point to her living a perfectly well-adjusted life.
Well, I don't know that it's perfectly well-adjusted. She's just better off with them. That's it. I think you're overselling that. It's not like a miraculous change. She's still damaged. And, again, she builds up a good bond with Bondo, but, again, you only see one scene of that in the anime.
I mean, good for her, but that doesn't leave a lot of room for a story. Because of that, Mayu just sort of floats around the plot and has little to do with what's going on. She has a few moments with Bondo, which I suppose helps to paint him in a better light,
And, again, there's much more of that in the manga.
but it doesn't last very long.
Again, there's more of it in the manga.
Not content with two runaways, the Koda household also adopts Nana, another Diclonius. But unlike Lucy, she doesn't feel the need or desire to lash out at people. In fact, she's quite happy and demure, only wanting to make hers and Lucy's minder, Kurama, happy, which means locating and retrieving Lucy.
I always thought Nana was a good contrast with Lucy, because Nana's sweet and innocent, but she's not as naive as the New personality. Although New actually gets more developed as it goes on and actually learns to talk and stuff. But Nana is... She acts a lot younger than she is.
Which is why Lucy dismembers her and leaves her stump of a body dying and bloody in a cemetery.
And it was a good fight, too.
Ah, but she's alright, folks. She got new prosthetic limbs thanks to Kurama, and now she can propel herself using her vectors. Why, it's almost like she never got her arms and legs brutally ripped off.
I think that's a bit unfair. The prosthetics happen to Bondo, too, but, like, again, it's not like that's necessarily bad. I don't know why you got a problem with that.
Except she did. And you can't unknow that. But
Okay, so?
unlike Mayu, Nana has some thematic presence in the story, even though she figures very loosely into the plot proper. I like that instead of having every Diclonius be a sadistic monster, there's one who is equally dangerous, but only seems to want to help,
Yeah, that's why Nana's a good character.
even though she shares a similar past with Lucy. She's routinely kept shackled to a wall, naked as the day she was born, and bloodied from unknown wounds, and yet she's bubbly and eager. If there was one major overriding theme of Elfen Lied, it's the age-old argument of nature versus nurture. Are we born evil, or are we made evil?
That's fair. That's a pretty common theme. I'd say it also just deals with human cruelty in general, but yeah.
And curious enough, for an anime that is predicated upon extremes, it seems to play these two extremes against the middle. Nana has been the victim of heartless experimentation at the hands of uncaring professionals, but remains kind. Lucy has been the victim of abuse from pretty much everyone in her life, and, well...
No, Lucy, don't do it!
What's frustrating, though, is that despite it being a theme, the anime seems unwilling or unable to answer the questions it intrinsically brings up.
Well, I don't think it necessarily needs to answer the question. It's showing the complexity of the argument and the characters.
They said the anime frames Lucy's acts of violence as stemming from an abusive past.
Not entirely. She also just has, like, the evil, like, part of her brain because she's a Diclonius.
Where she grew up being the object of ridicule and derision from the other kids in the orphanage.
Like, because her true identity, Kaide, is actually fairly good. But Lucy, the other identity, is constantly telling her to kill. Like I said, you don't really see the fact that there's kind of three as much in the anime, but you do in the flashbacks.
She lived. And yet, from a young age, it seems that Lucy is also haunted by some kind of spectral inner force that goads her into acting violently, using the abuse she's experienced as justification for her bloodlust.
Again, she just wants to wipe out humanity because of it. And yeah, she's using it as justification, but again, this is the evil side of her telling her to do it. This is her original self. This is the evil side telling her to kill.
It's so simple. All you have to do is remake the world.
So, does this mean that even if Lucy had lived a happy and idyllic life, she'd still turn out to be a violent murderer?
Possibly. I think it's actually a combination of the fact that she was abused, the fact that she perceived Coda betraying her, and the evil, like, influence. I think it was a number of factors. There's no telling if she would have acted on it if it wasn't for all of those things piling up on top of each other.
Well, it kind of seems that way. Many times it's shown that Lucy goes well beyond just killing people. She outright tortures them. She drags out Nana's death by lopping off her limbs and fingers bit by bit, and when she has Bondo at her mercy, she breaks his arm and gouges out his eyes and strangles him. And in both times, the only reason why she didn't kill them was because an outside force prevented her from following through.
Right. What's your point?
There's only so much an abusive past can explain, let alone condone.
Well, again, that's why it's not just the abusive past. It's the Diclonius within her, because... And also, the reason she's different than Nana is because she's the Diclonius queen, the only one that can actually reproduce. So that's another reason that she's driven to kill humans, because it's sort of like a step, the next step in human evolution.
No matter how overboard the anime presents said abuse. Let's go back to the orphanage for a moment. Remember how I said that Lucy was targeted by the other kids for looking like she does? Now, we know that kids can be cruel, but tell me, does this feel real to you?
Oops.
You must be some kind of monster, because you're totally not a human.
Again, the things that happen in this, they're over the top, but they've happened. You know what I mean? Like, look at, like the case of, like, I don't know, Junko Furuta, or those two 10-year-olds that, like, kidnapped the 5-year-old and brutally murdered him in the UK. Shit like that can happen.
I don't know about you guys, but if I was a kid and I knew about a girl about my age that had pink hair and horns, I would think that would be the coolest shit in the universe.
Okay, well, that's you.
But no, pretty much every single kid here is beyond awful. Again, going back to what I mentioned about irredeemable fucksticks. But these are kids. Little misbehaving shits, the lot of them, but still kids all the same. Now, I know what you're all thinking. How in the world is the anime going to try to justify Lucy killing all these kids? Well, they go for the lowest of low blows. They bludgeon Lucy's puppy to death.
Again, the killing a dog is a trope that's used quite a bit, and I'll admit that fully. But again, I don't think it was just that. I think it was everything on top of that, and the fact that the girl who she viewed as her only friend betrayed her. Because she gets betrayed by everyone, whether it's perceived or real.
Keep holding it down.
Who are these kids? Jeffrey Dahmer's bastards?
You're not funny and nobody likes you.
There are plenty of kids that do fucked up shit. Like, it's not the most common thing in the world, but psychopathic kids happen. There's plenty of times you'll see, like I said, like those two guys in the UK, or Junko Furuta. Those were all teenagers, admittedly, not, like, as young as these kids. But the ones that were 10 years old and killed that 5-year-old and left him on the train tracks, again, it's not completely out of the question. Not to mention that girl Nevada Ton, that 11-year-old girl who brutally stabbed to death her classmate, and then sort of became a celebrity in Japan where she got idolized by a bunch of fucking weirdos.
This would be terrible if it wasn't so forced. Granted.
I mean, yeah, it's a little heavy-handed, I'll give him that, but I don't think it's that forced. I mean, it's kind of forced. I'll admit, I love Elfen Lied, but it is a little heavy-handed sometimes. I'll give him that.
Trying to create an anime with as much transgressive subject matter as Elfen Lied does is no easy task, and sometimes the only way to get away with it is to contextualize it with something that's even worse. but you can't ask me to take this, or any other time the anime goes off the deep end to portray morally bleak bullshit, seriously.
But again, humans are cruel by nature, so again, I think it's just showcasing that. And it takes it to the extreme, yeah, but still.
S270's the limit.
We're gonna need another Timmy.
Now that's funny!
Okay, that's kind of clever.
I mean, you can't say it isn't effective. We're supposed to think Bondo is a son of a bitch, and so they have him sucker punch a woman and beat up a little girl. Son of a bitch status confirmed.
But again, Bondo's a lot more complex than that in the manga.
The lengths the show goes to frame him in such a way removes all sense of intentness from the character. He comes off like a joke more than anything else.
I just disagree. You gonna talk shit on Duke Nukem?
Sort of like how Duke Nukem went from one of the coolest characters in video games to being an unintended parody of himself.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
Fuck you, Duke Nukem kicks ass.
America is counting on you.
America, fuck yeah.
If not for that,
Again, that's not an unintended parody. Duke Nukem, it's a comedic game too. It always has been.
then at least one has to laugh at the sheer audacity of the anime, trying so goddamn hard to justify themselves having a bunch of kids slaughtered.
You know who is inhuman? People like you!
You know, I don't care who I piss off by saying this, but Elfen lead, too many kids getting butchered.
Pussy. Pussy.
Like, an absurd amount of children getting butchered.
Pussy. Pussy.
It's unnecessary, really.
Pussy. Pussy.
Sort of like the disturbing amount of shots of naked little girls. Yeah, so the anime hints that Lucy is 18, but Nana certainly isn't. Mayu certainly isn't, and Mariko,
Lucy's 17, actually.
the last Diclonia sent after Lucy, really isn't. Although she is psychotically insane.
Oh, I see. You think you're gonna kill me, right? They say you're the queen and everything, but no one can kill me, nobody!
You could
You know there's a bunch of Mariko clones in the manga that didn't make it into the anime?
make the argument that the nudity wasn't portrayed or framed in a sexual way.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't.
And I can certainly see that side of the argument. Except for Mayu. But this all feels like we're
Mayu, it's in like a scene of abuse.
dancing around the main meat of the discussion. What about the story? Well, if we can take into account that the plot centers around a homicidal demi-human who switches between her true personality and Sean Penn from I Am Sam, the story still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, seems that Diclonius can spread their infection like genes through human males, and that is how they reproduce. Thing is, Diclonius born...
Well, only Lucy can reproduce. Like, she's the only one that can currently.
Humans are sterile, so they can't reproduce themselves. Save for Lucy. Hence why she was let out in the first place by this guy, son of director Kakazawa. Seems that he's one of the very, very rare male Diclonius, although his genes...
There's like 3 of them in the manga.
...have been watered down.
Or no, 4, because of the teacher. Or no, this is the teacher, isn't it? So yeah, 3.
...through the generations. But he figures that he and her could be the Adam and Eve for a new generation of Diclonius.
Lucy, it's different for you. You're the pure one I've been...
I think that's a no.
So between this plot point and the end, not much really happens. But towards the last act, it's revealed that Coda met Lucy when they were both young and befriended her when...
And I think these are like the best scenes in the show, by the way.
Shocker of shocks, he's not a complete dickhole to her. But the good times don't last long when Lucy's paranoia gets the better of her and she becomes jealous of little Yuka. So she kills his family and Coda blocked those memories until now. Alright, throwing away the fact that repressed memories were about 95% bullshit,
I mean, that is true, but again, it's fiction.
especially how it's portrayed in fiction, the real problems start to teeter over at the end. After Mariko fails to kill Lucy, Kurama appears to reveal that she's his actual daughter, and seeing as how their lives have been fucked up beyond all recognition, they decide to blow themselves
Kurama doesn't die in the manga, did you guys know that?
up. Meanwhile, Lucy, finally apologizing for, you know, killing Koda's entire family because she was jealous of his...
You know, in the manga, again, spoiler, but Koda kills her in the manga. Like, at the end, he's a lot less forgiving in the manga, too, but, like, he kills her because he promised he would kill her. So when he actually fulfills the promise, he makes it when they were kids.
Yuka, which, to be fair, wasn't entirely unfounded. decides that enough is enough and throws herself into a waiting hail of gunfire. But because the anime couldn't leave well enough alone, it's hinted that Lucy is still alive.
Well, again, it ended halfway through the story, so she is still alive.
And that director Kakuzawa...
Again, the ending is a little bit different. Like, the ending is different in the anime than it is in the manga, though. Like, this part is not how the halfway point plays out exactly. Like, with Lucy coming back like that. It's a little bit more obvious.
Gonna attempt to breed more Diclonius because, well, like son, like father. Now, my one question after sitting through all of this is a simple one, but an important one too. Why do the Kakuzawas think their plan is going to succeed? While the anime itself is fuzzy about the details, Diclonius born from humans are sterile. They can only reproduce by infecting human males, and thus more Diclonius are born, sterile as they are. That's how Mariko came into being, and how Kurama's wife died the most melodramatic
He says Mariko's name weird.
death I've ever seen in anime.
Why are you trying to kill our baby? We were looking forward to her so much. And now she's the only child I can ever have. I'm begging you to save her. She's our daughter. Our only child.
I don't know, I thought that scene was good.
Jesus.
Okay.
Fuck this show. So, Lucy is capable of conceiving. That I get. But then, why would you have your goons and conscripted Diclonius kill her? In fact, why didn't you impregnate her when you had her trussed up and locked away? I know, evil fucking thing to do, but again, evil fucking bastard here. And more to the point, why do you think you can make more Diclonius if you think Lucy is dead? No matter who you try to impregnate, they're only going to give birth to sterile Diclonius. And if your genetic history is any indication, all you're gonna have are watered down Diclonius that don't have any vectors. It just seems like the Diclonius as a species were meant to go extinct in one generation. And
I don't know if that's true, because again, it's like supposed to be the next step in human evolution, and Lucy's wanting to spread it. I think that was part of the plan, to release her so she could spread it and make it more common.
do you think you could rule the world full of them? This whole plan is nothing but racing as fast as you can to a red light. At least it's better here than in the manga, where it's revealed that director Kakuzawa isn't even a Diclonius. He's just some poor fucktard with horns. It'd be tragic if it wasn't so funny. Now, I've probably spent the better part of 20 minutes kicking the crap out of Elfen Lied, give or take a minute or two, but I called it a cult anime at the top of this video, and that infers that there is a cult fan base around it. Obviously, I don't count myself among them, but why is there one in the first place?
Because of the dark themes, the violence, the dark story. It's look, any flaws that it has, which it has flaws, every story except for Breaking Bad has flaws. It still appeals to many, because it's got a really dark and compelling story.
Because, for all of its faults, mostly surrounding plot and character, it can be a very beautiful anime. Well, not visually speaking, the anime is pretty cheap and roughshod, and there's obvious cut corners every which way, but it's beautiful in tone, and that's thanks to the Superman of anime themes, Lilium. This one aria...
Well, I don't think the theme is the only thing that carries it. The rest of the soundtrack is also good, by the way.
It plays throughout the entire 13-episode run, and goddamned if it isn't the most effective piece of music, just in terms of creating atmosphere and elevating an otherwise...
Yeah, the atmosphere is another reason why it's so popular.
...forgettable scene. Hell, the opening of the very first episode is legendary because the song creates this surreal contrast between itself and the violence on screen.
Well, the violence does help, though. Like I said, the first 9 minutes of the first episode are the best part of the show. Well, that and the flashbacks.
Still, even Superman fails every once in a while, and the law of diminishing returns strikes again. By the last episode, that aria has been used so many times that it doesn't even register with you anymore.
I don't think that's fair.
Especially when the melodrama hits its most maudlin.
All this time that I was locked away in that dark room.
You saying that this scene isn't sad? Fuck you.
I was looking forward to the day we'd meet. You'd say, come out. And there you'd be.
I actually really like the Kurama arc, and I think it's actually done better in the anime than in the manga, because I actually like that he dies. Like, the fact that he just survives and they make a bunch of Mariko clones in the manga is not as good, in my opinion. I like that he just dies with her in the anime. I mean, I still like seeing him go crazy in the manga after she dies, but still.
Yeesh, I know that your life up till now has been a hellish nightmare where you've been kept immobilized in a dark vault to the point where you can't even stand on your own 2 feet, but come on! You're a 6-year-old girl! Play some Pokemon or ponies or...
What the fuck are you on about? She's been locked up, you moron! Why would she have any interest in doing anything childlike when she has to grow up super fast? Because she's had a fucking hard life, you retard!
But as I said, Elfen Lied is predicated on extremes, but in every way imaginable. Extreme violence and sadness, sure, but also extreme happiness and, dare I say, love.
I can't let you go knowing that you'll hurt people. There's already too much in my life that I regret. I want to put a stop to the bloodshed. Besides, I love that lonely little girl I met so long ago. And I love you.
Again, he's showing a lot of really good scenes while he shits on it. It confuses me so much.
She's like nobody I've ever met.
Cobra.
The concepts of extremes are baked right into the very design of the show. Not only is that delicate aria used to contrast the violence, but the set design and environments are peaceful and feature old-world, beautiful architecture. All the more shocking when they both become drenched in blood. Even the characters are overly expressive, even bordering on moe in certain respects. Usually, violent anime shies away from the overly drawn large eyes and the more stylized aspects of anime, opting for a more gritty or subdued design.
That's true. Yeah, it is not designed in a way that you would think with the tone in a lot of cases. Yeah.
That the characters are drawn the way they are again contrasts the brutality that surrounds.
The only other one I can think of is Higurashi.
Them. It's like if Happy Tree Friends were played completely straight, though in Elfen.
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. Holy shit. Happy Tree Friends is literally just about the creativity of the depths. There's no, like, real depth to it at all.
Lied's case, sometimes it circles back to parody. So I can certainly see the appeal of Elfen Lied from an aesthetic point of view, as well as a gorehound point of view. If you fancy yourself a fan of the claret, then Elfen Lied won't let you down. And the fact that the anime has no compunction about having both women and children be on the receiving end of the bloodletting means that there's some novelty to it. At the very least, I could say that the violence is so outlandish and prolific that getting worked up over it feels like that's the point. You should be worked up about it. It just means it provoked you, and therefore...
Again, I think it has some of the best gore in anime. Like, I don't know if it's the best, but it's definitely up there.
...did its job. Still could have done without all the naked little girls, though. Even though I find myself on the thumbs down side of Elfen Lied, I think that's more on me than on the anime itself.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It knows who its audience is, and
that's fair.
It tries its damnedest to be what they want it to be. And I gotta respect it. A show that misses more than it hits can be forgiven if those hits go for a long way. Even the greatest batters in history fail 70% of the time, so it basically comes down to this. Are you the kind of person who remembers the home runs or the strikeouts? Even though I know I thanked you all before, I can't let a milestone episode like this go by without thanking you all again.
Okay, is that the end of the Elfen Lied discussion? Alright, cool, we're gonna call it there on that one.
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.